I don't wanna. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Can we do a dishonorable mention? Because that would be the Packers in the second half, Grossi. And today, we are going to be ranking the final 8 teams that are still alive and heading to the divisional round. It honestly was one of the best wildcard weekends that I can remember in a long, long time. And while the last 2 games, you could argue, were a little bit of a stinker. I mean, the Patriots and Chargers game, that was close for a while. There just wasn't a ton of offense happening. And then last night, it was a pretty good defensive game up until the fourth quarter, and the Texans were like, okay, we're done playing with our food. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty damn exciting. Prior to the 49ers-Eagles game, each team that was leading going into the 2-minute warning lost. So yeah, we had a whole lot of fourth quarter comebacks. There were lead changes, the most in playoff history. And so the divisional round is going to have a lot to live up to. And so with that being said, it is time to rank these 8 teams. Before we get into the rankings, I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to you all. Because of the Packers' misery, a lot of you tuned in on Saturday. In fact, we beat our record for most live viewers in a stream. We had over 57,000 people in there at one time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the show and my tears, but that also means that we have gotten an influx of subscribers, and as of right now, we are just 23,000 subscribers away from 1 million, which means we are getting closer and closer to that goal. This show is free. There are no sponsors whatsoever. It is free to subscribe, so feel free to hit that button, and hopefully we get to 1 million subscribers before the Super Bowl. Number 8, you got the San Francisco 49ers. And let me just get ahead of this before 49ers fans get mad at me. I got to be very honest. The amount of respect I have for that 49ers squad to not only go into Philadelphia and beat the defending Super Bowl champs, but to do it with all of those injuries. And just when you thought the 49ers were starting to get healthy, George Kittle goes down.
Is that all you got?
Why did you have to ask that, kid?
And yet, even though they didn't get the run game going, they still were able to come away with a win, which honestly is just really damn impressive. I gave the 49ers a whole lot of props even after week 18, where they didn't score a single touchdown against the Seahawks, because the fact that they were even contending for the number 1 seed in the NFC, it's really damn impressive. And you got to give Robert Saleh and Shanahan a ton of credit for being able to will that squad to not only make it into the playoffs, contend for the 1 seed, and now knock off the Eagles, which I'm sure 49ers fans are very happy about. But the reason why I'm ranking them at number 8 is for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think they match up very well with the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're going to have one of the toughest matchups of the weekend. They're going to have to play on the road and, of course, without George Kittle. They've been able to do it without Fred Warner. They've been able to do it without Nick Bosa. But losing George Kittle, that is going to be rough. Now, one of the bright spots for the 49ers is that they're going to have Trent Williams this time around. And even though Brock Purdy did throw a couple of interceptions this past Sunday, and while George Kittle won't be playing on Saturday, there is one silver lining that Fred Warner's practice window has officially been opened. So who knows if he's actually going to be ready to go against Seattle, but maybe Fred Warner could make a return if they advance. But just without George Kittle, I think it is going to be an uphill battle. On top of that, they are going up against the number 1 defense in points allowed this season. And so while the 49ers were able to get a big win over Philadelphia, I just think that is going to be a big challenge against Seattle. But hey, that's why we play the game. CMC, even though he didn't get anything on the ground, which was surprising to me because I thought that's where they're going to be able to take advantage of that Eagles defense, which was ranked 22nd in run defense heading into that game. That didn't work out. Instead, he had Demarcus Robinson, who had a standout game, and of course, CMC getting those 2 receiving touchdowns. So I'm not counting the 49ers out, but as of right now, for me, they're coming in at number 8. Number 7. You got the Chicago Bears. I said it. Whoever was going to win is going to be insufferable, and It has been unbearable as the Bears were able to score 25 points in the fourth quarter and rally back to defeat the Packers, winning their first playoff game in quite some time. And it's the first playoff win against the Packers since the freaking 1940s. And honestly, at this point, it just feels like the Bears are that team of destiny.
Die, you mother...
This was divine intervention. You know what divine intervention is?
The Bears, they didn't do diddly squat in that first half. It was a rough half of football for them. Down 21-3, the offense couldn't get things going. Caleb Williams had a turnover. They couldn't really run the ball well. And considering they had a top 3 rushing attack, they were held to under 100 yards the entirety of the game. Like I said, they didn't even score a touchdown until the fourth quarter. But the Packers, they couldn't do diddly squat on offense, and you got to give a lot of credit to the Bears defense. Matt LaFleur was asked about this because he didn't change his play calling. The Bears were just bringing a ton of pressure, and it was getting home as the Packers O-line couldn't do anything against that pass rush, and that's a bit embarrassing. And in the fourth quarter, the Bears did what they've been doing all season, getting these comeback victories and the ability to go down the field over and over again and put up those points, especially after some long sustained drives. They deserve a whole lot of credit for it. Unfortunately. Now the Bears will be taking on the LA Rams and an old familiar face in Matthew Stafford. And we'll talk about the Rams in a moment, but this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I wonder if Bears fans would have preferred to get the Eagles, as they were able to run all over them the last time that they played, getting over 280 rushing yards. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that against the Rams this upcoming Sunday. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think that offense for the Rams matches up very well against that Bears defense. We know Matthew Stafford and that offense can score a ton of points, and so that secondary is definitely going to be put to work. And on top of that, they have a good ground game as well. And so if the Bears are going to wind up winning this football game, it's going to come down to turnovers. They're going to have to force a few of them. I know that Matthew Stafford has a sprained index finger on his throwing hand, and so maybe the Bears are going to be able to take advantage of that. On top of that, the reason why they're above the 49ers is because they are hosting a home game. And so Matthew Stafford in the cold, it just creates a whole lot of variables, and maybe the Bears can take advantage of that. But considering how they were able to get the win against the Packers, they definitely deserve some credit for playing in the fourth quarter. But if they're going to beat LA, they got to play the entirety of the game. We'll see if they can do that on Sunday. And as of right now, they come in at number 7. Number 6, you got the LA Rams. The Rams, whoa. Has your blood pressure come down yet, Rams fans? Because that wasn't the most ideal way to win, but they survived.
Another happy landing.
The Rams able to get that win over the Carolina Panthers, a team that it looked like they were going to be blowing out in the first half. They were able to score 14 points pretty quickly. Matthew Stafford didn't even throw an incompletion. Puka Nacua had 2 touchdowns. The Panthers had no answers for them. And then the trouble started. The Panthers defense started playing well. Matthew Stafford started making some mistakes. And overall, that became very competitive very quickly. It came down to the fourth quarter. The Panthers were able to get a lead. But Matthew Stafford, holy crap, man. He led that team down the field. A phenomenal throw and catch to Colby Parkinson. And they were able to get that win. Now let's talk about why they're coming in at number 6 for me. Matthew Stafford, as I just mentioned, he does have an injury on his throwing hand, which is probably not ideal. On top of that, going to have to play in the cold in Chicago, I just don't think that is where the Rams are at their absolute best. Now, I do have a good amount of confidence in them because, again, they can run the ball effectively. Of course, we can see what Matthew Stafford can do with a healthy Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, but it just feels like the Rams have not fully put it together yet. And I don't know if it's because the Panthers are just a thorn in their side. Obviously, they lost to them a few weeks ago and almost lost to them this past Sunday. And I do want to give the Rams a lot of credit to be able to battle back and win that football game at the end, but it's just a bit concerning. You had that Falcons game where they went down 21-0, and then they were able to battle back again, but they ultimately lost that game. It just feels like the consistency for the Rams is not matching up to where their stats are, because they are a very good squad. They have the number 1 offense in points scored and also passing offense. They have a top 10 rushing attack, and their defense, it ain't too shabby either. Now, their secondary is going to be put to the test. After the regular season, they have the 19th ranked pass defense, and we know that the Bears, they can air it out, especially when they have all their receivers healthy. So I think it's going to be a really good game on Sunday. The Rams, they have an opportunity to blow out the Bears, I think, going up against that defense because they just have a better squad on paper. But then again, they had a better squad on paper against the Panthers, and they nearly lost that football game. So because of that, the Rams, I believe in them, but they're coming in at number 6. Number 5, you got the Buffalo Bills. The Bills. I originally had them at number 6, replacing the Rams, but damn, was that win impressive against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not only going on the road, but going up against the number 1 ranked run defense in the league. And it turns out they can win even without James Cook. Josh Allen had those 2 rushing touchdowns, and ultimately it was those turnovers from the secondary that wound up winning the Bills that football game. And now, after dethroning the Jaguars, I guess you can say the better Josh Allen won.
Don't be intimidated, Squidward. Try to imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot!
Now, the Bills still have a very tough road ahead of them. As I mentioned, they went up against the number 1 ranked run defense, and while they do have the number 1 ranked rushing offense in the league, yeah, James Cook really didn't do a whole lot this past Sunday. He was held to just 46 yards on the ground, and ultimately the thing I was really concerned about was that run defense. They rank as one of the worst run defenses in the league, and for whatever reason, the Jaguars just stopped running the ball. They were running the ball very effectively against this Bills squad. They had nearly 150 rushing yards on the ground, but as I said, they were able to get those turnovers. The Jaguars got aggressive. They didn't settle for points. It was a turnover on downs early in that game. Cam Little missed that field goal, and ultimately they were able to win after Trey White was able to deflect that ball and ultimately get an interception. And now they got to go up against the Denver Broncos, who they are going to be no slouch either. While the Jaguars had that number 1 ranked run defense, the Broncos, they're the number 2 ranked run defense. And so we'll see if James Cook is going to be able to make a difference in that football game. But if he's not, they are going to have to throw the ball on a top 10 passing defense, and that is going to be a challenge. Now, the good news is that the Broncos scoring offense is worse than the Jaguars scoring offense. The Jaguars ranked 6th in points scored, and the Broncos, they rank 14th. So if there's something that they could take advantage of, it is that offense. And again, boasting the number 1 secondary right now in the NFL, if they're able to get after Bo Nix and force him to make some mistakes, they might be able to win this football game in Denver. Now, on top of that, James Cook got a little banged up in this game. Josh Allen got banged up in this game. And so they are not going into this game very healthy, and they have to play on a short week on Saturday. And so while the chips are stacked against them, it is very difficult to count out Josh Allen. I think they had one of the most impressive wins of the weekend. And so because of that, the Bills coming in at number 5. Number 4, you got the Houston Texans. The Texans. Oh, God. They have a Super Bowl caliber defense, but their offense, stop fumbling the ball, CJ Stroud. It was infuriating to watch at times because this game, while it wound up being a blowout, they could have put up even more points against that Steelers defense because they were constantly moving down the field, and then it was multiple fumbles. It was an interception in the red zone, and at times I was just yelling at my TV, hoping that the Texans could take advantage of what the Steelers were giving them. But ultimately, the Texans were able to get the win because they blew that game open in the fourth quarter, and they had to end it for Aaron Rodgers in a very, very ugly way.
Pure evil.
I'm necessary evil.
Not only were they able to sack him multiple times, but they were able to get a strip sack return for a touchdown. They were able to get a pick six in what might be Aaron Rodgers' final throw as an NFL QB. And it really was that fourth quarter where that defense was able to just be too overwhelming for the Steelers to pick it up. And again, I have the Texans as my dark horse in the AFC because it's going to be very difficult for any team to go up against that defense. However, my concerns are that offense. If they continuously turn the ball over against the Patriots, they are probably going to lose that game. On top of that, Nico Collins left that game with a concussion. That is definitely not boding well. Christian Kirk was able to be their leading receiver, and he had a phenomenal game. And Woody Marks and Nick Chubb also did pretty damn well on the ground. Though they are going up against a much better opponent in the Patriots, it's going to be interesting to see if that offense can reduce their mistakes, because if they do, I think that Texans defense can take them all the way. They might be dragging that offense all the way to the Super Bowl, but as we saw on Monday, they can be lethal. They are the best defense in the AFC, and so because of that, they're coming in at number 4. Number 3, You got the Denver Broncos. The Broncos got to kick their feet up and relax for the bye week. However, I'm sure Broncos fans aren't the most excited to face Josh Allen again after he ended their season last year.
I'm nervous, Max. I'll admit it. I'm nervous, okay? I'll admit it. I'm nervous.
The Broncos get a very interesting matchup in the Buffalo Bills because I know that there was some hesitation about playing the LA Chargers because the Chargers just match up really well with Denver, not only because they're a divisional rival, but that defense has caused them headaches. I mean, the last time that they played against their backups, they couldn't even score a freaking offensive touchdown. So yeah, now they get to play the Buffalo Bills, who have that explosive offense, but the Broncos have that fantastic defense. On top of that, being played in Denver is obviously going to be an advantage for the Broncos. However, the Buffalo Bills are no strangers to playing in the cold and in the outdoors, so we'll see if that is going to be an actual advantage. But as I mentioned, they have the second-ranked run defense. On top of that, they are the third best defense in terms of points allowed, and they have the seventh-ranked passing defense. And so if they are able to stop James Cook, I do think they have a good shot at winning this football game because as we know with Josh Allen and the Bills, his receivers are not the most reliable this season. And while Khalil Shakir was their number one wide receiver, I mean, if they throw Pat Surtain on him, yeah, it might be a tough day for that Bills offense. But as of right now, the Broncos definitely have something to prove. We'll see if they're going to be able to put away their old foe in the Buffalo Bills. And as of right now, they come in at number 3. Number 2, you got the New England Patriots. The Patriots. Whew, it was ugly at times, especially on offense, even though they were able to move the ball down the field, very similarly to the Texans, but it was turnovers that kept on stopping them from getting into the end zone. Drake May had an interception, he also had a strip sack, but ultimately they were able to win that game and by a decent margin. And even though it was pretty damn close for 3 quarters, that Chargers O-line could not keep up with that Patriots pass rush.
There are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Milton Williams, man, holy crap. Thank God that he is back. He was a monster on Sunday night. And considering we've talked about this Patriots pass rush, and you heard it from the media nonstop of like, oh, they can't get after the opposing quarterback. They were able to get after the opposing quarterback, sacking Justin Herbert 6 times. Though I will say that the Patriots O-line, it didn't do much better as they allowed Drake May to get sacked 5 times. So going up against that Texans defense, it is going to be a challenge. And hopefully Drake May can run because he did a whole lot of that on Sunday as he was their leading rusher. And honestly, it was those runs that put the Patriots in really good positions. And Drake May being able to be a mobile quarterback, I think he just forces the defense to account for him because, man, he has some speed. He can take off when he has some space. And even though the Chargers defense is definitely not a slouch, they are not the Texans defense. Where the Patriots, I think, are going to be able to take advantage is, again, that offensive line of the Texans. We saw a ton of fumbles from CJ Stroud on Monday night. And so if the Patriots are able to constantly get pressure, which I think they're going to be able to, if they force some turnovers, the Patriots should be able to win this football game. I do think it's going to be a defensive battle, and it's just going to be a matter of who can protect their quarterback longer and who can reduce the amount of turnovers that they have. But I was damn impressed with the Patriots on Sunday night. I know their offense was definitely not the best, but as long as that Patriots defense can do what they did against the Chargers, though we are worried about Christian Gonzalez because he is in concussion protocol, yeah, the Pats, they are a force to be reckoned with, and they are 1 game away from the AFC Championship game. They're hosting this at home, so let's see if they're able to put the Strouds away, and they come in at number 2. And number 1, you got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, no surprise here. They were another team that got to relax during the bye week. And I think they got the best possible matchup that they could ask for, though I don't think they would have minded getting the Packers. But Sam Darnold gets round 3 against Shanahan for a trip to the NFC Championship game.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Now, the reason why I have the Seahawks at number 1 is just because about a week ago, they were able to take down the 49ers, and it didn't look like it was too difficult. On top of that, as I mentioned, George Kittle is not going to be available for that game as he suffered a season-ending injury, just wishing him well. But that Seahawks defense, it is nothing to play with. They are the number 1 defense in points allowed, and so it is going to be a struggle for the 49ers to put up points. We saw this the last time that they played. They didn't even score a touchdown. And as long as Sam Darnold is able to limit his mistakes, just like he did last time against the 49ers, I think the Seahawks have a really good shot of winning this game. Now, I know Seattle fans definitely did not want to see the Rams in the divisional round, and it is still possible that they will see them in the NFC Championship game if the Seahawks are able to win. The only real concern I have for Seattle is that it is against a divisional rival, and you just never freaking know, especially this season. But on paper, the Seahawks, I think, are just the better squad. If they can get the run game going like they have the past 3 weeks to end the season, I really like the Seahawks' chances to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game. And so because of that, the Seahawks come in at number 1. And if it's the Seahawks-Bears in the NFC Championship game, I'm going to be rooting for the Meteor. And so to recap here, at number 1, you got the Seahawks, 2 Patriots, 3 Broncos, 4 Texans, 5 Bills, 6 Rams, 7 Bears, and 8 49ers. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be higher or lower on this list? We only got one more episode of Power Rankings left this season because, yeah, we only got 4 games this weekend. And after that, it's just the 2 championship games. So I appreciate you rocking with me for yet another season. It's been one heck of a ride. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.